passage 2 today, and I'll start with doing 3 and 4. Okay, so passage 3 starts on 135. Everybody have this? Passage 4 on the next page, 136. So the numbers go 24 to 43. 24 to 43. If anybody doesn't have it, I got a few extras.
So just finish at 3 and 4.
Yep, that's 3 and 4. That's 20 items. So, what is that?
Passage.
3 and 4.
About 12 minutes. 12 minutes. looks to me like everybody's done. Okay. Good, that was only 10 minutes. If you're doing these a little bit faster than the 36 seconds you get, that's good. All right. Guys, if I just get up and walk out the door and I'm gone for 10 minutes, don't worry about it. I gotta be reading. All right, 24. John, what are we doing with that?
G.
G, no. We do want it to say its own way. We've got 3 versions of its own way, which means they must be testing for use of apostrophe. So each of several cultures explained human mastery of fire in its own way. Whichever one we want here is a possessive, right? The it being the each of the cultures. So which one's possessive? Anybody? We know it's not G, so I've at least narrowed it down to a 50-50. Remember this weird possessive rule with the word it? No, we don't want any apostrophe. It's possessive has no apostrophe at all. So H. 25, Ben.
B.
B. Prometheus stole it from the gods and brought it to earth. Right? We want it to be the same verb form as brought. So it's just simple past tense verb. Chris, how about 26?
J.
J. No. Look at the dash. Remember dashes come in pairs? There's a dash before the word air. That's not changing. It's not underlined. So this wants a second dash. Like the parentheses that go together, a lot of times dashes go together. So H. And when you see an item like this in the ACT where one of the items has a dash and the others don't, begin with that one. Eliminate that one first. Because, like I've said before, the ACT folks like dashes as punctuation. So they will test your knowledge of a dash at some point. 27, Lindsay. B on the other hand. Your relationships are contrary to each other, and that's the only one that has that idea of being contrary. Nick Bontrager, 28.
F, no change.
We do want to change here. This is a style issue. There's nothing wrong grammatically. That's tricky with the ACT because you can get into a pattern of thinking grammar, and then it hits you with something like this. It has nothing to do with grammar. This has to do with style. What is this metaphor, the sea of life? Taking the first steps on life's sea, paddling the pathway of progress. Why is that in there? Should it be in there? Should it? Right? It doesn't fit. It's out of the blue. So which one of those does not have any sort of new metaphor with sea in it? H. Taking the first steps on the path toward civilization. Now this goes against a pattern that we've seen before, this simplicity pattern, where things get shorter and simpler. But throwing in that metaphor doesn't make making it shorter and simpler valid. Right? It still does not fit. Got to remember, they're looking for multiple categories of what you know, and they're testing you on different things. So seeing a lot of these examples so that the patterns start falling together in your own head is what we're trying to do. That's why we're doing this every time. Okay, Mr. Stites, 29.
D.
D. This one is a simplicity issue. They all basically say the same thing. But useful fire and symbolic claim say it best. Okay, Charlie, number 30. F, no change, good, but such fires did not improve anyone's life. Not about 7,000 BC. Neolithic peoples developed fire-making techniques, period. There's nothing wrong with any of those. 30, 31, 32 are all no change. I want to look at 32. Ben, give me a redundancy in those items in 32. So some idea that's repeated in one item. Where do you see repeated ideas? Unnecessary repeats.
In learning to control fire and developing fire.
Explain that again.
In learning to control fire is redundant to develop fire.
Okay, but where is it redundant in the choice? Like the choices themselves, look at G. Develop new innovations for fire. What's wrong with that? Can't you develop new innovations? What does innovation mean? Anybody?
Invention.
It means something, a new invention, right? So why are they putting new in front of it? They don't need it. Like that's redundant. So we have the idea of new showing up twice. What about H? Where do we have redundancy in choice H?
Invented and innovation.
Yeah, I mean the same thing. They're different parts of speech. One's a verb and one's a noun, but they still basically mean the same thing. We don't need both those words in there. What about J?
Develop new innovations.
And innovations again showing up. So each of those has a repeated idea in it. And that's how redundancies show up in these choices. Develop fire-making techniques. There you go. It doesn't have any redundancy. Okay, what about 33? Which paragraph makes the best first paragraph? Anybody? Ben? 2. Good. Now this was a little bit simpler because that's as far as you need to go. Once you look at these paragraph beginnings, the word still, number 1, okay, that automatically throws that one out. That can't be the first paragraph of an essay. Number 2, strike a match, and what do you have? Fire. That sounds like very general context. That's a good essay start. Number 3, although fire is today mainly utilitarian, the idea of mythical, that one could be. That's a possibility. But you would have no place to put number 2 in. That real sort of general, broad context doesn't have another spot to go in a developed essay. 2 has to be the first paragraph. A lot of times that can be a time fill. In this case, it wasn't. We should figure that out. Okay, passage 4, number 34. Chris?
F.
F. From periodical begins, but this is an agreement question. It had to be whatever agrees with the subject disease. Disease begins. 35, Lindsay? No. Potential victim's eye is caught while leafing through her newspaper. The answer is B. But I'm trying to see why I'm saying this. There's nothing wrong grammatically. Oh, I know. Because in C, there's something grammatically wrong. We have a misplaced modifier. It sounds like the I is leafing through the newspaper. Which is what the no change is. The way it's written is a dangling modifier. Leafing through her newspaper, the potential victim's eye. The I does not leaf through the newspaper. It's got to be the victim. So that's going to be B. Okay, John, what 36?
F.
F, no change. Good. 37. Chuck?
C.
C, another possessive. What do we do with the apostrophe? In the next 2 days' paper, the paper belongs to the day. It's just 1 day, right? Yeah, singular day, so C. All right, 38. This is a comparison. We've not seen this yet. How many things are being compared in 38, guys? You might need to read back. 2 things are being compared. Okay. There's a difference in the comparison form that we use when we're comparing 2 things or more than 2 things. Which one do we use with 2? It's going to be either funnier or funniest. Nick? Hunter?
Wait, funnier, funniest.
Yep.
Then probably.
You didn't have one of those, did you? If it's only 2 of them, we use the IER comparison. So of the 2, we don't say that 1 is the funniest. There has to be more than 2 to use that ST ending, that superlative ending is what that's called. The comparative ending is the ER ending. That's when you've only got 2. So if I have 2 boys, I say Charlie is the older. as soon as I have 3 boys, when Max came along, now I have to say, of my boys, Charlie is the oldest. So if someone says, of all my kids, so-and-so is the oldest, and this person knows their grammar, you can assume that they've got more than 2 kids. If it's older, then it's only 2. Okay, comparative and superlative forms. So this will show up on these. 39, we've done this. Who or whom. So we've got, and you can tell what they're doing, right? 2 of them have who, 2 of them have whom. There's also a comma issue in here. Let's start with the who or the whom. Do we want who or whom for 39? Whichever one it is, it's the one that loves cats. Is it who loves cats or whom loves cats? Plug in a subject that we know. Remember the M at the end? What are those that end in M? Me, him, them. Me loves cats. Them loves cats. That sound good? Him loves cats. Hopefully it does not sound good. It's got to be the other. So it's who. Who loves cats? It's the subject of the sentence. Or of a clause here. Okay? Now what about the commas? Do we want commas on both sides of she recalls or just one? Both, right? This is a non-essential. This is something that's just inserted in. So, no change. You want to watch out for those choices, those items where they're looking for 2 or more things, testing on your knowledge of commas and your knowledge on case form here. She writes her uncle infrequently, however. In fact, she realizes that she writes him only at Christmas. Dice would you have for 40?
J.
No. However, and in fact, are okay in the order that they're written. That's fine. But there's something wrong with the punctuation. We have a run-on sentence if we leave it like this. What punctuation will fix the run-on sentence?
Semicolon.
Semicolon. Now, sorry, H is kind of hard to see that that is a semicolon, but it is. However, semicolon, in fact. So if you thought that was a colon, actually, you know what? A colon would work there too. So H is right, whether you saw that as a colon or a semicolon. But we need something in there that's going to change that run-on sentence into 2 complete sentences. Okay, 41. Charlie?
C.
C. Good. Okay, eventually clippings litter her desk and floor. Okay, 42, Chris.
G.
G. No, we're going to do J. And here's why. Because it kind of sounds like what's the difference, whether it's from not only or not only from. Look at the but also that follows. This is called a correlative conjunction. Not only, but also. Wherever you see a not only, you should have a but also coming later on, right? The but also comes in front of the word from. So we want the not only to be in front of the from also. That'll keep everything parallel. It'll keep them all the same type. Okay, last one, let's say 43. Minimum change. Good. It's fine with it. All right. That's it. You can put those away. And then get out this. Go to page 91. There are 7 of us. 7 of us. So we're going to divide this up. I'll do the first couple. That'll be 4 for everybody to do. So I'm just going to have you give us the answers to a chunk, the 4 of them. I'll tell you which ones you're going to do in just a second. But I want you to be able to do. Charlie, I left mine. Dry erase markers at home, I think. Anybody happen to be carrying around a dry erase marker today? That would be really weird if it worked. Okay, you're just gonna have to remember. Dang. Okay. One, you need to be able to tell me what's wrong with the item, what's wrong with the sentence. They've all got something that is wrong. You may be able to use the language that we've gone over so far. You may not. It depends on the item. Some, it may obviously be, well, it's not parallel. You have an ing and an ed, and they need to be made the same. So you can use the word parallel to describe it. You don't have language like that. You don't know the terminology. Just try to say what you think is wrong. And then give me the fix. So number one, prices in department stores are lower than other stores. Okay, you could describe this in a few ways. One, there seem to be two parallel things. They should be parallel, but they're not. So we might call this a non-parallel. You could call it an incomplete comparison, because there's a comparison happening. There aren't enough words. Prices in department stores are lower than other stores. It sounds like the prices are lower than the stores. That's weird. I mean, if you describe it that way too, that would explain what's wrong with it. So the fix is pretty easy. We can just add a little word to make everything parallel, right? What word do we add?
Prices.
Prices in department stores are lower than prices in other stores?
Lower than the prices in other stores.
Lower than?
Prices.
You gotta have other stores though, right? Because it's...
Yeah, I said prices in department stores are lower than the prices in other stores.
Yeah. Okay, so you added prices and the word in. Okay, that fixes it. I think you could just add the word in. And that would do it too. Prices in department stores are lower than in other stores. Okay. Number two, the baby was told to stay in the playpen. However, not understanding, so he climbed out. It's obviously wrong with that. How would we describe it? How would you describe that second part from the word however to the period as being wrong? I don't know that we've really covered any language that would do this specifically, but just use your common sense. What's wrong with it?
Take out so.
So is unnecessary. Right, take out so. It makes it a fragment or an incomplete. You can tell it's not a complete sentence. It's not a complete thought. Okay, so that would do it. And then just cutting out so would be the fix. Okay, so let's do this. Charlie, you're going to write this down somewhere. Okay, let's jot it down so you know. 3 through 6. Anik Bontrager, 7 through 10. Nick Stites, 11 through 14. Chris, 15 through 18. Lindsay, 19 to 22. John, 23 to 26. Ben, 27 to 30. Okay. So make sure you can do those things. Tell me what's wrong with it and how did you fix it. Try to do that right now just in your own head. And if you can't, ask somebody near you. Find somebody else who can help you put it in language that makes sense. You can even come ask me. I'll just sit here. Yeah, sure. Some of these are like misplaced modifiers or dangling modifiers that make the sentence say something weird that you know it shouldn't say. So explaining what the sentence says is weird would be one way of saying what's wrong with it. If you didn't know whether it's a misplaced modifier or a dangling modifier, say what the sentence is saying is bizarre. Everybody ready? Yeah, Charlie. Number 3, when I opened the door, I had heard the alarm go off. What's wrong with that?
You had heard are both in the past tense, so you don't need had.
Yeah. Opened, when I opened, I heard it. Good. Okay, how about number 4? Cecilia knew exactly how to act in the presence of the Queen, even though nobody had advised her.
The second one, full sentence.
Good. So what do we do to fix it?
Take out the period with the E, aren't even one is.
Just join it together, make it one long sentence. Good. 5, some doctors don't like others to explain how to manage their practice. Others are eager for advice.
I don't even know what's wrong with it. It could easily be combined into one sentence and easier to read.
Okay.
By putting a comma after practice in the right, but others are eager for advice.
Here's the problem with it. You could read this in a way that is confusing. Now, I read it out loud, and so you probably didn't catch that there was anything confusing about it, right? That the others in the second one would refer to other doctors, but what might it also refer to?
The others that are explained.
Yeah, there's another others directly above it, right? So I'm not exactly sure who the others is referring back to. So how would we fix that, Charlie? How can we make it more specific?
Other doctors are
Sure.
eager for advice.
Good. Number 6, automobile accidents frighten many people, which create traffic bottlenecks along the highway.
So there's misplaced because it makes it seem like people create traffic bottlenecks on the highway.
Yeah, the clause which create traffic bottlenecks. Remember, the word which, when it's got a comma next to it, it refers to what came right before it. So it refers to people. The people create traffic bottlenecks, but it's accidents that do it. So how do you fix it?
Move which create traffic bottlenecks on the highway to after accidents.
Yeah. If it's a misplaced modifier, it's a misplaced adjective clause. It needs to modify accidents. Good, okay. Number 7, Nick. We bought a lawnmower from a friend that was already broken.
It sounds like this friend was broken.
Sure. So how do you fix it?
We bought a lawnmower, comma, that was already broken, comma, from a friend.
Good.
8,
Movie pictures being a pleasure to students. It is used in school to teach literature.
no, it's wrong, but. Rewritten like, moving pictures are a pleasure to students, they are used in schools to teach literature.
Okay, so you picked up, you got rid of it for they.
Yeah.
You could leave it, movie pictures being a pleasure to students, comma. That'd be like just an introductory modifier. But you still have to change it is to they are.
I did that.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know what we call this a number problem. Like it should be plural instead of singular. Okay, how about number 9? To dream, to think, sleeping are human characteristics which reveal individual personality traits.
This was, I think you did the right, as, either dreaming, thinking, and sleeping are human characteristics which reveal individual personality
Good.
traits.
What's the term we use when it's not, when it's supposed to be the same, and it's not parallel? So it's non-parallel. Number 10, many historians are now convinced that the Great Depression, it will never be duplicated in contemporary times.
We just dropped it.
Yeah. It's like a fused sentence here. Okay, 11. It says, painting in the abstract expressionist form, the style will reveal the innermost fears of the painter. You know what's wrong with that? We do have a term for this, but we haven't spent a lot of time on
I dropped the style, so it's painting the abstract form, comma, will reveal the innermost features of the painter.
it. Okay, good. That works. You don't need the comma though. You just make painting the subject of the sentence, right? Painting in the abstract expressionist form will reveal the innermost. That works. What you have the way it is written, does anybody know what that's called? Painting in the abstract expressionist form, comma, whatever comes after, has to be someone who can paint in the abstract form. This is a dangling modifier. So we would need to bring in, if you didn't do what Nick did, you would need to bring in another subject, like the artist or artists, something like that. Or I guess there's a painter. You can use painter. That gets clumsy though. I think that revision is better than trying to make that phrase stay like it is at the beginning. Okay, number 12, Nick. When preparing for a job interview, clothing should be fashionable, neat, and becoming. Okay, now, Nick, here you do have a dangling modifier. When preparing for a job interview, comma, whatever comes next has to be what? Can you let me? When preparing for a job interview, boom. It's got to be a subject who can be preparing for a job interview. It's got to be a person, the applicant,
So
the interviewee. So what did you do, Nick?
preparing for a job interview, semicolon, clothing should be fashionable, comma, neat, comma, and becoming.
Okay, well, you still have with a semicolon, semicolons are only going to separate independent clauses. So when preparing for a job interview, that should sound like a complete sentence, but it doesn't. So semicolon's not going to work. So we would have to bring something in. Did anybody bring in a new subject? Because look at that sentence. There's nobody in that sentence who could actually be preparing for a job interview. There's no word like interviewee or job applicant.
Current change statement doesn't work how I did it, 'cause I said, preparing for a job interview, your clothes should be fashionable, and becoming, but it still seems like your clothes are what's preparing for the interview.
So these dangling modifiers are a little bit tricky. They require more revision. Okay, we're going to practice those later on today because I sense we need some review on it. 13, Spain is a dry country and the rainfall is mainly in the plain.
Spain.
This is, Nick, what'd you do with that?
Spain is a dry country and the rainfall is mostly in the plain.
I don't know that we need to get rid of the word main. This was a hard one. Anybody else find something wrong with this? And grammatically, there's nothing wrong with it. There's a shift in subjects, a shift in construction. I think that's what they're after here, this item. This is one of those areas that we sort of skipped over. We didn't spend a lot of time in shifts in construction because we don't have time. This is more like an advanced type item. Chris, what did you do?
Adding Spain is a dry country and the rain falls. The rain falls mainly in the plain.
You know, that's fine. That's not, you didn't need to fix that. I think what they want us to do here, Spain is a dry country and they want Spain to remain the subject of the whole sentence. Instead of shifting unnecessarily to rainfall being the subject, they wanted us to change it so that Spain would stay the subject. Spain is a dry country and its rainfall is mainly in the plain, or it has rainfall mainly in the plain. Sorry, Nick, that was sort of unfair. How about 14? The rain in Papua New Guinea being plentiful, it is where there is much jungle growth.
The rain, Papua, comma, New Guinea, comma, being plentiful is where there's much jungle growth.
Problem with that is we've got the rain is where there is much jungle growth, but it's Papua New Guinea where there is much jungle growth. Let me hear another one. Somebody else has a thought? Ben, go ahead.
Because of the rain in Papua New Guinea, its jungle growth is plentiful.
Okay, that works. Nick?
The rain in Papua New Guinea is plentiful, and that is where there is much jungle growth.
The problem with that, it sounds like it's still, the jungle growth is happening in the rain instead of in Papua New Guinea. Okay. Somehow we've got to have, it is where there is much jungle growth referring directly to Papua New Guinea. That's what's hard about this, and I think Ben's fixed it. Okay, Chris, number 15, hotel rates in New York City are too expensive, and I chose Washington DC.
I did. Hotel rates in New York City are too expensive, so I chose Washington DC.
Good, it's a good fix. So the two things are related, that little and shows the relationship between the two. The and doesn't work. It's more of a so, like, this happens, so we need to. Good, 16, some people handle emotional stress well and others cannot.
I did. Some people can handle emotional stress well and others don't.
Yeah, I like don't or do not better than cannot. I think we could improve the conjunction. What conjunction could we use other than and? While implies a little bit more of like a contrast, something contradicting. While this happens and yet this happens, while that happens. That'd be a little better. 17, since Henrietta missed the first act, the play had started at 8:00 p.m. and she couldn't follow the plot. Okay, what's wrong with the sentence? It has to do with the word since.
Since it's kind of like saying there's something after that. There is.
Well, there is something, since Henrietta missed the play, something did happen, but I don't think it's supposed to have happened.
I did.
Unless Henrietta is like the queen of the country or something, this is not going to happen. What's the sentence saying actually happened? What does it literally say
Since
happened?
Henrietta missed the first play had already started.
Okay, I think you're getting at the fix okay. But what does the sentence, as it's written now, say that's weird? It's wrong. We can assume it's wrong. Nick?
It's like, since she was late, it changed the time of the play.
Yeah. See how it says that? Since Henrietta missed the first act, the play had started at 8. It's like, because she was late, the time of the play changed somehow. Let's assume that's not the fact. The play was supposed to start at 8:00, but Henrietta was late. So she couldn't follow the plot. Right? When we need some conjunctions like that, it's going to make sense. Okay, last one. Everyone within the 20-mile area had no electricity, so the police had patrolled the area.
I just took out had.
Yeah, that would take out the had. I think if there's anything else wrong with that. Yeah, I think that works. Now, we need to add a comma, because now we have two independent clauses, two complete ideas that are joined by a conjunction. So we need a comma. Chris, where do we put the comma? Where do the two ideas break? Where's there a pause between those two
After
ideas?
electricity.
Yep. Good. Okay, Lindsay, did I give you 19 to 22?
Yep.
Okay. Without the proper clothing, the party was not an enjoyable experience for the young couple.
The sign didn't know that when it changed was not to will not, so I think it's already right without the proper clothing.
The problem with this sentence is it's saying something weird about the party. And when we have a phrase at the beginning, a describing phrase at the beginning, it's going to describe whatever comes immediately after. So, according to the sentence, who does not have proper clothing? The party. So that we've got to fix on that. The party was not an enjoyable experience for the young couple without the proper clothing, because they didn't have the proper clothing. Or without the proper clothing, the young couple did not find the party an enjoyable experience, something like that. So that the party's not naked. Okay, 20. The election becomes a real contest in the final days when you have to vote. It's hard. The election becomes a real contest in the final day. Okay, I think I know what it is. And we had a few examples of misplaced modifiers where you could have something in the middle like one of the examples was, the president spoke yesterday about his opponent, something like that. And yesterday could modify when the president spoke or when the opponent spoke. So there's a phrase that could be modifying in both directions. The election becomes a real contest in the final days, and when you have to vote in the final days. So we can't tell where in the final days goes.
Can we just move that to the beginning then?
Yep. So we could call that a misplaced modifier, call it a two-way modifier, something like that. In spite of the fear of some educators that computers will replace teachers, other predict that computers will enhance reading. I think it might be entitled. Others predict that computers will enhance reading, because that's not the problem.
Well, I put others as one.
Okay, good. I mean, that's, yeah,
Um,
that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and then something to do with in spite of the fears of educators. Like at least the first part of the sentence is what I thought was different. I didn't know how to change it though. Like the in spite of fear of some educators that computers will replace teachers. It sounds weird as one sentence.
Yeah, it is a long introductory clause. Maybe, well, now I'm thinking maybe others is the only change we can make. Here's what I was thinking. That computers will replace teachers, it's modifying educators, but I'm not sure where else you would put it. In spite of the fear that computers will replace teachers, some educators predict, that might be a better version. We've moved it away from educators. That one's difficult. I don't have an answer for you guys, so I kind of have to figure this out. Number 22, a loud belching sound which let us know that the volcano was about to erupt and we became very frightened.
We got a lot of, we need to comment sounds and put, which let us know that the volcano was about to
Good,
erupt.
yep, you need comments around that.
And then, so I put a loud belching sound, comma, which let us know that the volcano was about to erupt, frightened us. I mean, comma.
Yep. Good. Yeah, right now it's like incomplete. Okay, good. Ben, right? Or John? Who's got it? John, you have 23?
Yeah.
Okay. When she was 6 years old, she lost 2 toes in a lawnmower accident. After that, she became a champion ice skater. It's not funny. Don't laugh. John, what's wrong with that? When she was 6 years old, she lost 2 toes in a lawnmower accident. That sounds like a complete thought, right? So we need a period there. After that, she became a champion ice skater. That's a brand new complete thought. So we got 2 separate sentences. So we could call this a run-on sentence. You can call it a fused sentence. Either way, we got too much stuff now. We got to break it up into 2 different sentences. Okay, 24. Pam's term paper was more complete than Jean.
James term paper or complete like Jeans.
Yeah. Put an apostrophe S on the end, that would do it. Good. You could add term paper to make it more clear, but I don't think you need to. There's nothing unclear about that. Okay, 25, the age of the population as a whole is rising. It has allowed people to live longer because of improved medical care and better diet.
The age of the population as a whole is rising because of improved medical care and better diet. People live longer.
Okay, your revision works because this is just like 23. We got to run a sentence. And we got to make it, either do what you did, make it one complete sentence. The way it's written right now, it's like 2 sentences spliced together as one. It's a comma splice or a run-on sentence. All right, last one, 26. Sautéing is when you heat a small amount of fat in a pan and add the meat to the heated oil. Okay, this was a hard one too. I don't know that we've talked about this. I'm sure I have not talked about this. Did anybody find anything wrong with this? I'm going to let John off the hook because I don't think anybody found anything specifically wrong with number 26.
isn't it like the voice, like the way you say it, things when you do this one, like that and again. And then an ad read to the heated oil.
No, it's fine, that's fine. Okay, here's what's going on with this. I need my dry erase markers. Okay. We have sauteing, which is a subject. We have is, and then we have this stuff over here. Last week we talked about subject, verb, and complement, right? This stuff over here can only be one of two things. Remember what is? What kind of verb is? We talked about this last week. It's a linking verb, right? It's linking sauteing to whatever is over here. Well, the only two things that it can link sauteing to is a noun or an adjective. So it can be describing sauteing, or it can be saying that sauteing is a thing. What it's doing here is it's saying that sauteing is a thing. It's defining sauteing, it's telling us what it means, right? Well, look at the word to the right of the word is. What word do we have? When. When only introduces adverbs. This tells us time information. We need a noun. So, you see, this is getting really sort of sophisticated as far as what grammar is here. Sauteing is a noun. We need it to be linked to a noun. So we need to change it to sauteing is heating a small amount of fat in a pan and adding the meat to the oil. Now it becomes a thing. When you have the word when in front of it, it's just a long adverb clause. We need it to be a noun clause. A noun clause is a thing. This thing that I wish I could write on the board, but I can't, is not going to be tested on the ACT. You don't have to know this particular thing on the ACT. This is up a notch. But you guys have to know you're getting instruction that's up a notch. Above and beyond, basically. Okay, Ben. 27. Sitting on stage was an elegantly dressed woman who was singing to the audience with a large straw hat.
The audience has a large
So, what do you call this? And that's one way to say what's wrong with it. If you want to sound like an English teacher, what's wrong with that sentence? Oh, good guess, but no. It's a misplaced modifier. It's a modifier problem. If you're not sure, you can say modifier problem. Okay, so you moved with a large straw hat to where?
After one.
After one. Good. See how it's misplaced? It's in the wrong spot. But at the end, you move it to where it needs to be. You have supportive and opposing arguments concerning school prayer.
To me, that sounded fine.
Yeah, it sounds fine. There's a little parallel improvement we can make. Just some adjectives there.
The ing with supporting, but instead of supportive versus opposing, you could have supporting and opposing.
Yeah, see, that make a little bit more parallel, supporting and opposing arguments. Okay, Sheldon looked out on the lawn when he saw nobody he could identify.
We should move when to before Sheldon.
When Sheldon looked out on the lawn, he saw nobody he could identify. Good. You could change when to maybe another conjunction. Change it to an and. That would work, I think. And you saw nobody could identify. Last one. Nevertheless, I had not been there before. The scene was familiar.
Actually,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
the scene was familiar even though I have not been.
Good. Yeah, that's what the sentence is trying to say. That's really nice. Okay. Good. That may have seemed a little tedious, but that is exactly what, I mean, it's the kind of thinking that the ACT is testing. So it's kind of almost done. All right. Guys, go ahead and leave this one out. Let's just jump to Skill Builder 4. And work through this. Let's go through the answers real quick. This is kind of the first of the reading strategies that we'll run into. The rest of the skill builders don't really deal with specific grammar like they have up until that last one we just did. Now it's going to be more reading comprehension. You'll notice it kind of looks alike. It looks a lot like the ACT stuff, these review exercises in the passages. That's what the reading section looks like. Though I guess you guys have seen it with the pre-test we did. Okay, so page 94. You might need to review real quick. This was an essay. I thought this was really good because I have heard explanations of why the sky is blue. I don't know, numerous times growing up. Right? People either gave me good explanations or poor ones. But this one I think did it better than any other. Like I read through it and when I was done with it, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense to me. Did you guys read this? I hope you read it. It's a good, I mean, it's a good essay because it gives an analogy. The whole thing is built on this analogy of waves coming into a pier and sort of moving around the column, or the smaller waves hitting the column and bouncing off. So, number one, what is the subject of the essay, Charlie? How many did not read this? Be honest with me. Dang, we're doing homework. You're lucky I'm not collecting it today. Okay, let's take 5 minutes. I want you to read the essay and look at those questions real quick, numbers 1 through 8. It doesn't make sense to go over this if you haven't read it. If you haven't read it, you can just play tic-tac-toe with yourself. Now everybody understand why the sky's blue? Does it make sense? You know? Okay, what is the subject of the essay, number one? Ben, what's the subject of the essay?
Now, why is this guy blue?
Sort of, what's the subject matter? What's most of what's being discussed? Waves, right? Light waves, how waves work, there's an analogy of waves, there's an explanation of the analogy and how it relates to actual light waves. There's light waves as a subject. What is the writer's purpose now, Ben? What's the writer's purpose?
To describe it, to tell us how it works.
Right. So we're actually getting into the why the sky is blue. For what kind of audience is the essay written? John?
The audience is learning.
It's not a scientific audience, right? He's not writing this for other scientists, right? It's for somebody who's learning, somebody who's a layman, right? Somebody who has a maybe basic understanding of language and the way things work. He's able to pull an analogy that he knows the audience don't understand, but it's not other academics or other scientific folks. It's laymen. How does the introduction prepare the reader, Charlie?
By comparing light waves and sports of water with long waves and short waves of the lake.
Okay, water, right? We begin with this analogy of water and the ocean, how it interacts with the column up here. Everybody would understand that. So it's a low-level introduction that everybody's going to understand. We talk about doing context, introducing even a persuasive essay. This is not a persuasive essay, right? It's an informative essay, expository essay. A persuasive essay still needs to do that. You need to start kind of where everybody can start, and then move them from that context over to your topic. So you start with education, or the role, the importance of getting along with everybody before you move into gender separation, whatever. Okay. What specific pieces of information are presented in each paragraph? What about the second paragraph? What does the second paragraph do specifically? Mr. Bontrager, what do you think?
In each paragraph.
Okay, look at the third paragraph. In the first paragraph, we have the analogy of the water. Like you're standing by a seaside pier. You see these waves happening. The third paragraph, the waves of the sea represent the sunlight. So now we're moving into this actual purpose, and that's to explain why the sky is blue. Then there's this little paragraph in between. What is that in between paragraph?
That transfers over from the analogy to
A little bridge. It bridges the analogy to the actual subject matter. Number 6, how is the concluding paragraph related to the purpose of the essay? What does a concluding paragraph do?
wraps up the essay and restates what was the essay.
Yeah, consequently, the blue waves of the sunlight enter your eyes from all directions, and that is why the sky. Charlie, if you have something to add, you stretching. You stretching. You know, in public schools, they do this when they want to talk. It's called raising your hands. Raising your hands. To what extent does this essay fulfill its purpose? Does it fulfill the purpose? I kind of gave it away at the beginning, right? I thought it did a really good job. And analogies are powerful ways to bring out more complex truths. What rhetorical devices contribute to the understanding of the information? Okay, flip your paper back one. And we have some rhetorical devices. Well, the following are commonly used rhetorical strategies for developing a composition. Exposition, there's a bunch of things, clear statement of thesis, argument, persuasion, description, narration. Okay, look at exposition. This is the kind of essay that this is. It's an expository essay, just giving us some instruction. To explain something, a clear statement of the thesis is important. Methods of development include comparison and contrast, cause and effect, process, explaining how something is done, classification, showing how something fits into a larger category, partition, showing how something can be broken down into smaller subdivisions, and definition. So which of those items do we find in this essay that you just read? I think there are more than one. You can find a few of these. Chris, you need to look at your thing here. Look at your exposition paragraph. What things can we identify in there that the author did? Description. What else?
Narration with
I guess about the only thing that was narrated would be
at the beginning.
the very beginning, probably his word.
Partition, it breaks it down.
Good. Showing how something can be broken down. We have different kinds of ways.
Maybe a description at the beginning too, more fitting.
Yep, and definition at the beginning. Classification. Okay, so for homework, guys, you were to do skill builder exercises on 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, and 99. How many got those done completely? That's it, 3 of you?
I have a
1,
question.
2, 3? Yeah.
Who owns sources 1 and 99?
No. Let's go to 102. Okay. Let's do this. I'm going to hold off on going over those until everybody's back. So I'm missing 4 people today, 4 or 5 people. And you guys who did not get it done, you need to get it done. Okay, next week I'm going to be collecting stuff. I didn't want to collect half of everybody's work this week. So I'm not going to worry about it until next Tuesday. Okay, so make sure you've got that done. We'll talk about it next Tuesday. Guys, let's take 7 minutes, okay? 7-minute break at 5-2. We'll reconvene and I'm going to review a couple of things that we've done. Chris, you say you had a question?
Yeah, so if we already got this done, we don't have to do anything till Tuesday.
No, there's still homework for Thursday. You're on track. Just if you didn't get it done, that means you're doubling up.
If you're leaving next Tuesday.
You still gotta do it. Still gotta get it done. So you have your syllabus. You know what you need to get finished, right? But you won't be here to go over it. If you're not here and I've collected something, just give it back when you return.
But I'm gone from next Tuesday to the end of class, so how would you?
Oh yeah, you and Keaton both. Okay.
I could like write it all out and then send it to you like Word documents.
No, I think what I'm gonna do with you guys, why don't everybody, if you wanna take a break, go ahead and take a break. Let me talk to you. I think with you guys, we're gonna pause the class, and then you can have time after the class ends to get this stuff done. Because you're not gonna be able to do it at camp, right? Right, so I'm not gonna expect that you're gonna do that at camp. And then when you get back, just, you can look at videos or go on the blog. If you need to get together, again, you can, but.
Okay,
So the workload that's there, you still gotta finish.
yeah,
But if you need a couple of weeks after the end of class, that's fine.
okay,
You got it? The rest of July and August, right?
yeah.
I have my, did you bring your computer or not? 'Cause I have my assignment.
I told you, yeah.
Alright, I'll just email it to you tonight then.
Okay, that's fine.
Alright. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, Margaret.
That's good.
Great.
Is that the homework for?
No, those are gonna do right now.
Okay. Is this class end on the 19th or the 26th?
The 19th, I believe. Oh, you know, I better. Yeah. Yep, July 19th, so I think.
Third.
Oh my gosh, that was funny. See?
Hey guys, we're gonna start there. Page 612.
Seven feet. That's probably already done.
I'm gonna review two things we've done over already. But this is good stuff to review because it shows up a lot. And I'm getting a sense that we don't really have it nailed down. One is agreement. The other are those modifier things, naming modifiers and those modifiers. So let's start there. And you don't need to write the whole sentence out. Just make the fix. Remember, these are the number things where all of your pronouns are either singular. Remember we did this 3-column thing? Singular, plural, or depends on what it refers to. So 2 of these are going to be correct. What you want to do is, a lot of these are going to sound correct, because the reason they're testing you on it is because we tend to mix up certain singular or plural pronouns, and we just go with how they sound. So we use they a lot when it refers to a singular pronoun. So you need to look to see what's going on. Like number 1, George has chosen Walt Disney as the subject of his report. So we have George, singular, Walt Disney, singular. So those might end up showing up as pronouns later on. And then the only pronoun we have here is the word his. His is singular, and we only have George and Walt Disney, both of which are male, and both are singular, so there's nothing wrong with the sentence. So number 1 is correct. Number 1 is correct. Go ahead and take a minute, work through 2 through 10. One more of these is correct, I'm not going to tell you which one though. The rest have some problem of, it's not agreeing in terms of numbers. So see if you can figure it out. Like number 2, I'm not going to answer this for you, but several is what? Is it singular or plural? Or maybe it depends on what it refers to. Several. Several is always what? Like plural. It always refers to like a few. Okay, so make sure that everything in the rest of the sentence that refers back to several is also plural in form. Okay, Charlie, number 2. What's the problem here? There is a problem.
Several other people in our class have also submitted his or her several is plural and his or her would be singular.
So what do we do to fix it?
Which is or her is there.
Good, there, top, it's not his or her. The next dice, number 3.
Dominic, out of the Peroni twins, has chosen Alfred Hitchcock as their subject, but he's the only one using Alfred Hitchcock, so it's his subject.
His subject, good. What they're trying to do here is they've inserted this phrase, one of the Peroni twins, and now it kind of sounds plural, like they've thrown in a plural twins. That's got nothing to do with Dominic choosing Alfred Hitchcock as his subject, right? So we want to ignore that. So good, there it is. How about number 4, Nick, Patrick?
I had correct.
Okay, now the reason you have correct is because you've got George and Dominic there, right? There's 2 of them. So that seems to be plural, and their report, that's plural too. Excuse me. But it's not George and Dominic. What is it? How are they being joined together?
George, and then, so the singular.
Right, yeah, we want to treat them like singular things. It's neither George nor Dominic. So what do we fix here, Nick? So if it is singular, something's got to change.
Well, their report, well, neither George or Dominic will have difficulty finding material for his.
For his report. And you can split this up to kind of see how it makes sense. George will not have difficulty finding material for his report. Dominic will not have difficulty finding material for his report. That's what that's saying. It's just using a neither nor to join them together. So things like neither nor, either or, we're going to treat those 2 things as singular things. Okay, Lindsay, how about 5?
Changed films.
Films is okay. There's something else referring to the word each. Each is always singular, right? Because it singles out things. The problem with each is it always refers to plural things. Look at the phrase after it. Each of these movie makers' films. But what each does is it takes the movie makers' films and saying that singularly, one of them, each of them, has left, so not there, we'll say, but what? Has left, we need something singular. Yes, except it's not a person. Oh wait. Yeah, it's a film, so it is. Each has left its mark on the entertainment world, so there becomes an its. See a pattern here? There is becoming a his, or there is becoming a his or her, whenever it's singular. In this case, there becomes an its, because it's singular. Chris, how about number 6?
I had correct.
Okay, good. Look at the very first word in number 6, both. Both Ming Chen and Sue. We know this is going to be, both means both, right? It's a plural thing. So everything else needs to be plural. Offered their help. Good. Okay, 7, we have the word each again, Ben. So everything else needs to be what? Singular or plural?
Needs to be singular.
Needs to be singular. So what needs to change?
They.
Right, change they to he. And keep reading to another one.
There. Because.
There it is. Good. Each boy refused politely, saying that he would proofread the report on his own. That should sound good and correct to you. Eventually, if you hear enough of it, it'll sound good and correct. Good and correct. One and both, good and correct. John, number 8. No, this one's not correct. This one was hard. This one, guys, look back at number 3, the one Nick did. One of the Peroni twins got inserted there to throw you off, right? There's a phrase here, including George and Dominic, inserted to throw us off. Everyone is what? Is it singular or plural? No. Everyone. Everyone. Singular. This one sounds weird. You wouldn't say do everyone, right? You would start the sentence the way it's written. Does everyone. That sounds correct because it is correct. Everyone is singular. What happens though, is we like to change one little pronoun when we refer back to everyone. We like to change it to plural, but it doesn't make sense to do that. Everyone is singular. It stays singular. It's always singular. So does everyone know that they needs to change to what, John? How do we change they to singular? He or she, we don't know the gender, right? Everyone could be anyone. Know that he or she must assemble facts, not opinions. Now that might sound a little bit strange. It's easier to say they. That's why when we do it informally, when we're speaking, there's nothing wrong with plugging in the they for it. But when you're being tested on the ACT, you need to know that everyone is singular all the way through. Okay, number 9. Okay, there's a neither nor, so we know these are going to be singular. What needs to change, Charlie?
There to his.
There to his. Good. The intent. Nobody likes to discover that nobody is singular, right? Just like everyone. That he or she just read a list of dull facts about an animal. If I were saying that sentence out loud, I would probably plug in a day. I wouldn't say he or she. I don't think that quickly. But on the ACT, if I see it, I'm thinking singular. Okay. Flip over to page 614. Let's do one more agreement, and we'll move on to modify. Post-test day on 613. Let's work through this the same way. Number 1, when the truck overturned a herd of cattle were set free on the expressway. Now, we've got some other things mixed in. This is agreement that can be all different forms. You may have a problem with the verb, could be a problem with number. Here we have a collective noun. The collective noun is herd. And collective nouns, it kind of depends on what it's doing. If a herd of cattle is treated like a plural thing, like a they, like it's a bunch of cows doing something, then we treat it plural. But a herd can be a singular thing. Like authorities found disease in the herd, so the herd was destroyed. The whole herd, like it's a singular thing, was destroyed. But in this case, we have a herd of cattle were set free on the expressway. It's like a they were set free. So number 1 is correct. It's written. These collective nouns are going to be tricky. It'll be tricky for what we do here. Fortunately, the ACT won't test your knowledge on collective nouns. Number 2, the teacher reminded everyone to sharpen their pencils before the test began. What's wrong with that one? Let's assume there is something wrong. Nick?
Everyone is singular.
Good.
There's plural.
Good.
So
Got to make it
is there?
there it is, or good. Okay, go ahead and work through the rest of these. Go over in 5 minutes. Okay, John, number 3. What are we fixing? The subject of the sentence is one. So everything else needs to be, at least with that, within that group of words, everything else needs to be singular. Something's plural. Are to is. And you can get rid of, I mean, if you wanted to test, to see if it works, get rid of the phrase of our tomato plants. It's a prepositional phrase. It's just added modifier. It's not subject, verb, or complement. So, not one is producing any fruit. That sounds correct, because it is. But they're always going to do this. They're always going to put in a phrase that has a plural in it. And the ACT is very good at doing this, where they pick out a passage where a plural word like plants is right in front of the choice that you need to make. And so you've got to be able to pass that and say, plants has nothing to do with the verb. Only the word one has anything to do with my verb is producing. That'd be the phrase. Okay, item 4, Ben.
Everybody's at every.
No, they're both singular. You could change the verb though. The verb we have is plural, or it's a singular form.
Is.
How about have to has? Everybody has been talking about class 2. Everybody have been talking sounds wrong, right? It sounds wrong. It is wrong. So you guys know intuitively that everybody is singular. You're not consistent all the way through, right? When a sentence goes on, it's easy to throw in a they and make it plural. But it is singular. Number 5, Chris.
Yeah, to go.
Good. Because Carla or Tiffany, not both of them, just one of them. Good. Now there's a verb. Chris, look at the verb in that sentence. That needs to change. Actually, Andy. No. It's okay. It's okay the way it is. Yeah, I'm wrong. You're right. I'm wrong. Number 6. Lindsay.
Change their experience to experience.
Oh, no, because it is referring to. This one was kind of a trick one. You guys remember there's a little obscure rule, I don't even know if we talked about this, where when you have two things joined together, it makes it singular, right? When they're joined together by or, sorry, if they're joined together by and, it'd be plural. When they're joined together by or, it's singular. Except, what if one of the things is plural? In this case, that's what's going on. We have Dr. Jenkins, which is singular, and his assistants, which is plural. So, which one do you go with? Because there is no verb that's sort of a combination between the two. Our verbs are all either singular or plural. So we need a rule to fall back on. Which one do we go with? Which one would sound better? So I'm looking at the verb gives. Do we want gives with an S or give without the S?
Without.
The reason it sounds better without the S is because assistance is closer to the verb. It actually sits in the sentence a little bit closer than Dr. Jenkins does. And that's what we go with. We go with whichever one is closer. That's one of the least satisfying rules in all of English for me. I hate that rule. But what else are you going to do? We don't have a third form of a verb that's like a compromise in between singular and plural verb. We don't have it. So we've got to pick either a singular or a plural verb. So whichever one's closer. So yeah, it's flipped around, and we would go with a singular and be gives. But neither his assistants nor Dr. Jenkins ever gives up hope. Very obscure rule. You probably never hear it again beyond today. Number 7, Infantry.
I have this one correct.
No. It's the subject that determines the number of the verb. Not stuff that comes after the subject. And the reason you probably you left it as were is because the stuff after the subject is plural, right?
So entry is singular.
Yep. Entry is singular. So, what is the verb?
Where the was?
Yep. My entry was 3 specimens of the new strain. Good. And they've got that phrase in both flower shows to try to throw you off, to make it sound plural. How about number 8? Next type.
Correct.
No. They put number 7 and number 8 right next to each other to really test if you know what's going on. In number 8, it's still the subject that determines the number of the verb. But when you have a word like here or there, in English, we put those at the front, right? And then there's a verb, and then there's the subject stuff. So there is a brush would be fine if it stopped at a brush. Because brush is the subject, there's only one. But there's more than the brush. There's a brush, a comb, and a mirror. Now it's plural. So is needs to become are. There are a brush, a comb, a mirror, and a pencil. So it's the same rule, right? In number 7, the subject is determining that word needs to be was. The subject is entry. In number 8, the subject is determining that is needs to be are. And there's 3 subjects. How about number 9? This is a weird one because many a sailor, many a is a phrase that you really don't hear people using anymore. It's sort of an old-fashioned term. Try what you do with 9.
Between have to has.
Many a sailor has perished. Yeah, it makes whatever that subject is a singular. Even though the word many is plural. Yeah. Have you heard that term? Many a? Many a sailor has perished. Okay. You guys are well-read homeschool kids, of course you are. Okay, number 10. Anybody? What's going on here? There is something wrong here. Even though at a glance it doesn't look like there's anything wrong because you got plural and plural.
But measles is not plural.
Measles is what? What is measles? Just general
A
speaking.
disease.
Exactly. But it's a disease. It's a thing. It's singular. Even though it's got an S in the end, it's singular. Okay. So you change
Have been, it has been.
has been. Okay. So that's agreement. Probably won't see that again unless we do a little bit of review right before the post-test in a couple of weeks. Guys, flip over to 691. Review C, 691, the bottom of 691. Looking for dangling and misplaced modifiers. Revise each of the following sentences by placing the dangling or misplaced modifier near the word modified or by rephrasing the sentence. If you want to just show me where it goes, rather than write out the whole sentence, if you can do that, that's fine. Number 1, let's do this. I still want to leave that introductory phrase there. Even though the revisions tend not to be maybe the best revision, it does force us to think about what a dangling modifier does. And that's what they're testing on the ACT. So number 1, we're going to leave the front thing there. So on your paper, it would look like this. Awaking, right? Some of these are going to be long, guys, so if you want to use ellipsis points, like that, awaking to nap is our intro phrase. What do we want to put next? Oops. This is the key spot, right? Because this is what they're going to probably test you on in the ACT. That you know that what needs to go in here. Generally speaking, guys, what needs to go in that spot right there? The subject that can be doing this. Like there can be awakening from a nap. Awakening from a nap. Awaking from a nap, the island, okay, so we know this is wrong off the bat, because we have an island awaking from a nap. So it sounds, we can guess that who is awaking from a nap here? I, probably,
yeah.
because it was my airplane window, right? So it's probably an I. Awaking from a nap, I saw the island of Puerto Rico come into view through my airplane window. You know what, let's not write all that out, let's just do this. Awaking from a nap, I. And I'm gonna assume that if I really pressed you, you could come up with a good revision, okay? This is the key piece, so that's what we're looking for. So that's for the dangling modifiers. Now, look at number 2. Our guide was waiting to take us to our hotel inside the airport terminal. What's wrong with that sentence? Right. So, this is not a dangling modifier, which means it must be the other kind,
Misplaced.
which is misplaced. So what is misplaced? Okay, so let's write out what was misplaced inside the airport terminal. And where do we want to put it? Because we should be able to just shift it somewhere else in the sentence. I see where I want it. Yes?
So,
Oh, that's not where I was thinking, but that would work fine right there. You put it right in front of our. I was thinking after the word waiting, our guide was waiting inside the airport terminal to take, yeah, either one of them would, they're both in there. Okay, see what we're doing? So if it's misplaced, just show me where you want to put it. If it's a dangling modifier, tell me what you're going to put in that spot after the dangling modifier. Now, let me give you a clue. What have we seen? Every single time we've seen a dangling modifier, we've seen a particular piece of punctuation.
Comma.
A comma. We've got a few words and then a comma. And those few words at the beginning are describing someone or something. Right? If you've got that going on, you know you have a dangling modifier. So look at number 3. Now there's no ing word here. That's what a lot of them have been, or ing forms of words. To understand the guide's Spanish dialect, comma. Okay, that's a dangling modifier. I mean, I'm pretty sure it is. Maybe it's correct. No, none of these are going to be correct because it doesn't say in the instruction. So we're going to assume that what comes after it is not someone or something who could understand dialect. And that's what we have. Some knowledge. Knowledge does not understand. So we do need to bring in someone, subject, who can understand dialect. Okay? So if you're having trouble picking up what a dangling modifier is, look for the comma. There's a comma after the opening phrase. You know what? Hang on. Keep working. I may adjust this a little bit because I do want to get through this. Maybe we just won't get to usage today. Okay, go ahead and finish it up. Do one of those 2 things, okay? If you're not writing out the whole sentence, just show how to fix it or show the subject we're going to put in behind the dangling lines.
both Spanish and English.
So now you have both Spanish and English understanding the guy's Spanglish dialect. Right? That doesn't work. Because language can't understand language. We need someone. How do we bring in someone? Who's that? Who's that?
Just put in a name, like
Linda. Sure.
Linda.
Gotta bring in somebody. So if it's a person with a name, that's fine. This sounds like instruction, so it could be, what pronoun could we use? Sort of general instruction to folks. What pronoun would work after the Anybody? What personal pronoun? You guys know what personal pronouns
For number 4,
are. Number 3. My would have to refer to something else. So my doesn't do it. My can be a subject. My possessive. What's the first person?
we, like,
We.
we thought, yeah.
Sure. I'm thinking of the word you. A lot of times when you see instructions for something, the word you is used. Okay, number 4. Driving along the panoramic route, comma. What do we have next, Charlie?
We saw scenery.
Sure. We, whatever.
Yeah.
5, we stopped for lunch at a stall along the road that was made from palm branches. Now, it's possible that there was a road made from palm branches. Right? It's called corduroy road, made out of walnuts. But probably not. What do we do with that, Nick?
Which one? Alright,
Sorry.
we stopped along the road, or we stopped for lunch along the road at a stall made of palm branches.
Yeah, put it near stall.
Yeah.
It's got a modified stall. Good. Number 6. Ben, what's wrong with that?
This one had some difficulty on, so I changed it to, because I was hungry, spicy rice and veggies.
Okay, you did what you needed to do. You brought in a subject. You brought in an I, right? But if we leave hungry, like I want you to, just so you get used to seeing these, it's still a dangling modifier. Even though it's just one word and then a comma, it's still the same idea. Hungry needs to modify something that comes right after it. And the way it's written, the spicy rice and beans were hungry.
I thought,
Sure. I, and then whatever it is you came up with after these is fine, as long as you bring in the I. Number 7, we bought souvenir rocks from a young boy decorated with island seams. Tattooed boy. John, what do we do with 7?
lots of being around.
Move it to rocks. Number 8, look at that strange fish in the water that is puffing up. What's wrong with that, Nick says?
Do you want me to fix it?
Sure.
Look at the strange fish that is puffing up in the water.
That is puffing up, move to fish. Number 9, anxious to shower and unpack. Comma. What comes next, anybody? I. Bob. We. My dad. Whatever. Well, it's somebody who can be anxious. To fully appreciate all the island had to offer, comma. We needed more time. I needed more time. Okay. You need to see that pattern. Because you need to see about 1,000 of those before you, when you're in the ACT, you realize, oh, dang, we modified this. I know what I'm doing. So we're going to do one more of these, and then we'll call it a day. Next page. Review post-test A, revising sentences by correcting modifiers. We have the same idea here. Let's work through the first 3 orally, let's say. You guys can finish them. Number 1, having received a great deal of publicity, I had already read several articles about the so-called Loch Ness Monster. Now in this case, there is an I after the comma, but think about what the whole sentence is saying. It's probably not intended that I have received the publicity. What has received publicity? Yeah, the so-called Loch Ness Monster. So if we want to try to leave the front phrase the way it is, we've got to come up with some sort of revision here. But again, I don't want to waste a lot of time thinking through something that we don't need to. Okay, we need to understand what the daily modifier does. So having received a great deal of publicity, comma, the Loch Ness Monster, or the so-called Loch Ness Monster, ... That's enough. Okay? So same idea as the previous exercise. Number 2, one article described how a young veterinary student spotted the monster who was named Arthur Grant. Okay? Obviously a misplaced modifier. What is misplaced?
Arthur Grant's name.
Now let's get this right. Get the whole clause. What's misplaced?
Who was named?
Who was named Arthur Grant? So that's the thing that needs to move. Okay, number 3. You guys don't need to write down 1, 2, 3. Just you'll do 4 through 10. Number 3. While cycling on a road near the shore of Loch Ness one day, comma, Grant came upon the most strangest creature he had ever seen. Oh, we have another modifier problem. Yes, comparative, superlative modifier problem. What do we need to fix here?
Get rid of most.
Yep. Get rid of most. But everything else is fine, right? Grant is the one cycling, so it's not a dangling modifier. Okay. So work through 4 through 10. Look at them carefully. You may find some other little modifier issues that need to be fixed. And again, we're not revising the whole sentence, guys. So just show me where something needs to move to, or plug in something behind the dangling modifier, if that's what it is. Tell you what, let's just do this one orally. Okay? Let's just do it together, and we'll be done. Number 4, Charlie, read the sentence, and then tell me what we need to do to fix it.
Cycling closer to the monster took 2 great leaps and plunged into the lake.
Okay, what's wrong with that?
The monster is cycling.
Okay, good. So how can we fix it? Or just,
Cyc-
let's begin to fix it.
Cycling closer, Arthur Grant saw the monster take 2 great leaps.
That works, okay. Number 5, Nick Stites, read the sentence.
Numerous theories have been discussed about the origin and identity of the monster in local newspapers.
Okay. What's wrong with that?
The monsters in the local newspapers.
Good. So in the local newpaper needs to, what do we do with that? Where do we move it to?
Numerous theories have been discussed in the local newspapers about the origin and identity of the monster.
That's good. Nick Bontrager, how about 6? Can we do that?
Of all the proposed theories, the better and more fascinating one was that the monster must be a freshwater species of sea serpent.
Oh. This one's a comparative superlative problem. Think about the numbers, remember? I talked about 2 or more than 2. What's going on here?
Of all the proposed theories, would probably be more than 2. So, the better and more to most.
Yep.
Yeah.
So more than most, but look closely at it. There's one more word. It's just a comparative.
Oh, fascinating one more.
No.
Better,
It's about better.
best.
Best, there you go. Best and most fascinating. Good. Okay, Chris, number 7.
They found a huge dead creature on the shore of the lake in 1942. The mystery of the monster was thought to be solved finally. It sounds like the mystery found the creature on
Good.
the shore.
It doesn't just sound like it. That's exactly what that sentence is saying. Which is wrong. Okay, so what do we do?
We should have found a huge dead creature on the shore of the lake in 1942. I thought the mystery had finally been solved.
Okay. Was it Arthur Grant who did this? Who found it in 1942? This whole thing's a paragraph, I think it is. Okay. So Arthur Grant would be better, but I don't really care that you know, we want to fix these, add a thing, modifiers, and that's a good fix. Okay, Lindsay, number 8.
Tom Baker's photograph of the monster has frequently been revealed to be which is seen to invoke the pictures of the families. I would switch, or I would take which would seem to confirm the creature's existence and put it after one of Baker's photographer of the monster.
Good.
Which is-
Yep, that works, it's misplaced. Okay, 9, John, read that one out loud.
Doubtful, stories of monkeys must have always strikes me as unbelievable.
So it's a dangling modifier. So we're gonna leave doubtful where it is. What needs to follow doubtful?
Subject.
Yeah, so could we find a subject in the sentence already that would work? People, there you go. And number 10, Ben.
However, people continue to report seeing the monster, perhaps more than any other mysterious creature. Should move more than any mysterious creatures after however.
Hang on.
So it reads, however, more than any mysterious creature. Let's see.
No, I think we have an incomplete comparison. People continue to report seeing the monster, perhaps more than any mysterious creature sees the monster, is what it could be saying. Or, people continue to report seeing the monster, perhaps more than they do any mysterious creature. The comparison's unclear, so we need to clear up whatever two things are being compared. We need to assume it's that second one, not the first. Yeah, that one was a little bit tricky because it's not what we were talking about. Okay, that's it for today, guys. We will get into usage, which is that next chapter, when we come back on Thursday. So, skill builder 6, I believe, right? 6 or 5? 5? It is, it's 5. Guys, let's do this. If your parents, if they come early, go ahead and head out. But if you know they're not going to be here till 12, let's wait in the room, until 12. I just don't want to be milling around out there.